Hello students, welcome to a lesson through the virtual training center of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher, and in this lockdown period, since we are not able to go to school, children, we will be doing many lessons here online through the virtual class. So come on, let's proceed to our lesson for today.
So children, let us start with another lesson in English, which will be of standard 10th, but this is not a new lesson, children. This is a lesson that we have been doing last time. That is lesson number 3.3, Stephen Hawking. Now, in this particular lesson, we are going to talk about the second part of the lesson in your textbook. So this will be part 2. Now, before going to part 2 and before looking at certain grammar points which are there in the lesson, we will quickly recap and we will look back at what we have learnt in part 1 of this video. So we talked about Stephen Hawking, who was born on the 8th of January 1942 at a place called Oxford in England. He went on to become a British scientist, a professor, an author who has done some groundbreaking work in physics and cosmology, and also whose books have helped to make science accessible to common people like you and me. So this is what we learned about Stephen Hawking as he was in the beginning of his life, and also the achievements that he could make in his life towards the end of it. Now, in between, we learned that he suffered from a very, you can say, disease which broke him physically. And the name of the disease was the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. That is, it is called as the ALS. And we also learned in that particular part of the video that in this particular disease, what happens is your normal nerve cells and your normal muscles, they start wasting. Okay, that is, they start getting weaker and then they start disintegrating, and slowly you lose all control of your body. Okay, but in spite of all these problems that he had, you can see this is how he started looking towards the end of his life as the disease progressed. All right, he was completely confined to a wheelchair. He did not have any control of his hands, of his legs, of his neck, and slowly he also lost his voice. All right, but in the other part of the picture, you will see that he was still very active. You can see him addressing a group of people. So he was not like something, okay, I am not well and now I cannot move around. So come on, let me resign to my fate and let me curse my fate. No, he still went on and he was very active in his profession. He wrote a lot of books also. So we saw how he wrote 15 books, some himself and some he co-authored with others. And finally, towards the end of his life also, he was very active despite this particular disability that we had. So all these things, children, we studied when we did the first video a little time ago. Now, in that video, we also did a small part of your grammar lesson. That is, we talked about verbs. Now, let us move on and let us see one more thing before we do some grammar. So, let us take a look quickly at all the achievements in Stephen Hawking's life. So, what was the major impediment in his life? His nerves, which controlled his muscles, had stopped working. But in spite of that, you will see that he wrote 15 books, we saw, and also he authored numerous scientific papers. He was a physicist as well. And we saw that he wrote the book A Brief History of Time. And along with that, he discovered about the black holes in the year 1974. So all this was in spite of being confined to a wheelchair. So this is what we learned in the first part of the lesson. Along with it, we did a little exercise in grammar also. So now let us move on and let us do some more grammar and vocabulary exercises for the day. So the next grammar exercise, which we have picked up from your textbook, is about determiners and nouns. So you have an exercise in your textbook where you're supposed to identify the noun and then you're supposed to identify the type of determiner that goes with it. So let us quickly here try and see what are determiners. So determiners are words that introduce a noun. So they only introduce a noun. They do not describe it. It is written in bold letters here. that determiners do not describe the noun. So what describes the noun, children? We know adjectives describe the noun, isn't it? So determiners do not describe the noun, they just introduce the noun and they provide some information about it. Okay, so some of the determiners, children, they qualify as you can say adjectives, but not all of them. Some of them qualify as adjectives. So let us see here what kind of determiners you could come across in your English grammar. So you can see some of the determiners could be articles. So you have the indefinite article an, and you have the definite article the. Some of the determiners could be possessives. So it could be my, your. For example, when I say my book, so my is the possessive determiner which is describing the book. So here sometimes some people might argue that my can also be an adjective, but then we will look at it when we do a lesson on adjectives in detail. Okay, but here my, your, his, her, its, our, their, whose, all these determiners, all these could be called as possessive determiners. All these possessives could also play the role of determiners because they're talking or they're introducing the noun. Okay, what about demonstratives? So demonstrative words like this, that, these, those, these can also be qualified as determiners. They can also qualify as determiners. Okay, so you have a fair idea now of what determiners are. So once again, let's see, determiners are words that introduce a noun and they provide some information also about the noun, but they do not describe it. You cannot say that a determiner describes the noun. So what describes the noun? The adjective describes the noun, isn't it? So these are the different types of determiners also. So keeping this in mind, we will try and do the next exercise that we have. So from the following sentences, underline the nouns and encircle their determiners that specify the noun in a noun phrase. So here we will not only underline, we will not only encircle, we will also try to identify whether it is an article, whether it is a possessive pronoun or whatever. So let us look at the first sentence here. Now once again, children, I keep repeating myself, but I repeat it so that you don't forget and you just don't go on watching the video. Let us make it a little interactive also. That is, whenever we come to a question, I want you to pause the video and try to figure out the answer yourself. So the first sentence again here, he lost his voice for good. So what is the first thing that you will do? You will underline the noun here and then you will encircle the determiner. So what is a noun in the sentence? It is a voice. He lost his voice for good. And then let us encircle which is a determiner here. So his voice. Okay. So now what do you think this his will come under which category of determiners? Yes, his will come as a possessive. So it is a possessive pronoun here. Okay, and it is a determiner as well. So he lost his voice for good. In this, voice is the noun and his, which precedes the voice, is the determiner, which is a possessive pronoun. Sentence number 2. Over the years, Hawking has written 15 books. So there are a number of nouns in this. Hawking is also a noun here, isn't it? But we are going to identify the noun which has got a determiner preceding it. So which is that noun here? It is books. Hawking is also a noun here, okay? But we want to identify the determiner along with the noun. So we will pick up the noun which is books. Which is the determiner? It is 15. Okay? And 15 means it shows you the number of books that he has written. It shows you the quantity. So 15 here is a quantifier. Okay? So over the years, Hawking has written 15 books. 15 is the quantifier and books is the noun. Okay? And remember, we are also picking up noun phrases here. Third one, these 3 books articulate his search for science's holy grail. Okay, so this is also a sentence from this particular lesson itself. So let us pick up the noun here again. So we pick up this word books as the noun, and again we have these three books. So these here can qualify as the determiner, and this is a demonstrative. Now children, 3 can also qualify, but I did not pick up that particular example because we have done it already in 15 books. So these books, which books? These books, demonstrative. You're trying to show which books. These books. Next, a few events prevented him from despondency. A few events prevented him from despondency. The noun here is events. And how many events? A few events. So we can take few also here, but since we have already done quantifiers, we will go with the next one, that is a. Now a here is the article, not the definite article, the indefinite article. A few events. So we don't know exactly which one. Okay. The next one, that dream made him realize it. So which is the noun here? Dream is the noun here. Which dream made him realize it? That dream. So here that is the demonstrative. This, that, those, these are all demonstratives. So after finding out all the answers, I want you to once again go through all the sentences and try and find out whether you have understood what is the meaning of a noun and what is the meaning of a determiner. We have also seen separately what determiners are. Okay, so shall we move on to the next point? So we have a exercise based on vocabulary where we have 4 kind of vocabulary exercises. The first one is reduplications. So as in the image you can see, there are 2 jokers, okay, or 2 clowns who are looking the same. So they are duplicates of each other. Okay, judva that we say in Hindi, in our language. So these are reduplications. These are judva. These are, you can say, twins. So this we are going to look in relation to words in English. Let us see how words are duplicated in English. So the process of forming new words, either by doubling an entire word. Doubling means writing the same word twice. So that will be called as total reduplication. Or when you write a part of the word again, so that will be partial reduplication. So duplication means what? The process of writing a word totally as it is twice, or writing a part of the word twice. Okay, so when we see the examples, you will understand. So see, this is a total reduplication. Like when you say the food was yum yum, that means the food was very tasty. So what have you done? You have written the word yum again twice. Yum yum. So this is total reduplication. You have not changed any word or any letter in the word yum. The next example would be wee wee. Wee wee means small small. Okay, so these are all examples of total reduplication. Let us look at an example of partial reduplication. See here, Humpty Dumpty. What have we done? We picked up the word Humpty, written it again Dumpty, but we have changed one letter. We have changed the H to D. So Humpty Dumpty. Same word written twice with a little bit of change in it. Partial reduplication. Hocus pocus. Okay, HOCUS hocus. It changes to POCUS pocus, where we replace the H. So these are examples of reduplication. We will be looking at the examples which are there in your textbook later, after we finish getting a gist of what the meaning of these vocabulary exercises are. So the first one was reduplication. Let us look at the next one, which is a blending of words. So what is the meaning of blending? See, what is this lady doing? She has taken a blender and she's adding so many things. She's got bananas and she's got sugar, then she's got milk. She's added everything into the blender and she's blending it to make some milkshake. When you blend words, what do? In the same way, you mix up words and make a blend. You mix up bananas, you mix up milk and sugar, and you make a milkshake. When you blend words, you get a blend. Okay? So you do not exactly put the words in a mixer to mix it up. That is a little different. So let us see how you make blended words in English. To make a blended English word, you take two existing words and you combine the letters in such a way to make a new word. So read it once again, try to see whether you're understanding it. So you make a blended English word. You take two existing words and you combine the letters in a way to make a new word. The new word then represents the combination of the sounds and meanings of the two original words, but it has got a new meaning to it. Okay, so there is a little, sometimes the sound may be same, the meaning also might be same, but it is a new word and the new word has its own meaning. Now the idea of blending is a little bit different from a common idea of compound words that we have seen. So I will bring out highlight the difference between those two also. So let us see some examples of blended words. So see the first example here, you blend, let us go back here. So you blend the word breakfast plus lunch and it becomes brunch. Okay, so breakfast is something which you have in the morning and lunch is something which you have in the afternoon. But in between breakfast and lunch, if you tend to feel a little hungry, you might have something which is like a half meal. Like for example, you eat one vada pav and your hunger is okay for some time. Okay, so see, breakfast plus lunch becomes brunch, which is again a new word, but it is a blend of the two words breakfast and lunch. The next word, see, motor plus hotel becomes motel. Now what is a motel? A motel is also hotel, but a motel is usually near the highway or on a road and it is usually single storied so that the people who stay there can park their vehicles. So it is usually for motorists, that is the people who travel by car and who want to stop at some place. Okay, so a motor plus the word hotel is combined to get the word motel, which is again a new word. The next one, we are all familiar with this, especially if you're staying in cities. So you have smoke plus fog. So you know what smoke is and you know what fog is. So smoke plus fog becomes smog. Smog is the kind of thing that you see around you, especially during the winter seasons when there is a little bit of fog and there is a lot of smoke. So children, we saw an example of what blends are and how words are blended. And this vocabulary exercise is called as blending. Now I told you when we started this vocabulary exercise that there is another point that you might get confused with as far as blending is concerned. So let us look at one example. So see here, these are also certain ways in which words are put together. That is, you combine rain with coat and you get raincoat. You combine basket with ball and you get basketball. You combine work with room and you get workroom. But children, remember, these are not example of blend words. These are simply compound words, isn't it? We have learnt about what compound words are. So when you look at them in comparison to blended words, you will understand how the blended words are different from these compound words. So the first image here is of examples of compound words. So don't mistake compound words for blended words. So look at some more example of blends here. So breakfast and lunch we already saw. We blended to make brunch. Electricity plus execute. We combine it to make electrocute. Fantastic and fabulous becomes fantabulous. Guess plus estimate becomes guesstimate. Mock plus cocktail becomes mocktail. Smoke and fog we already saw, it is called smog. And stay plus vacation becomes staycation. So see children, this is how words are mixed together to form blends. And the other example is of compound words. So these are two different vocabulary concepts in English. So don't mistake and mix up both of them. Okay, so we have done two now, two vocabulary exercises. One is reduplication and the other one is blending. Let us move on to the third one now, that is clipping. So as you can see in this image, you can see a scissor. So what do you do with a scissor? With a pair of scissors, you clip things. You cut clothes, or you cut a piece of rope or a thread, etc. So clipping also in vocabulary means cutting or shortening or reducing. So let us read the meaning of clipping here. So clipping is the word formation process in which a word is reduced or shortened without changing the meaning of the word. So you reduce a word, you shorten a word, but you do not change the meaning of the word. It remains the same. You take away letters from words, but you retain the meaning of that particular word. Okay. Now let us see some examples here. So advertisement or advertisement, as people say, becomes ad. So what have you done? How have you clipped it? See. How have you clipped the word advertisement? So you have the word advertisement and you have clipped or taken away the later part of the word. That is vertisement. You have clipped it away. You have cut it away. And the word which remains is ad. But when you say ad, it also means advertisement. Let's look at the next one now. Alligator, where from the word alligator, you have clipped away the alley. So what is remaining is the gator. Means the same, the alligator, animal which resembles a crocodile. Similarly, you have examination, where you have cut away the I and nation and you have retained exam. Okay. Then you have gasoline, where you have cut away the OLINE and retained the gas. Then you have gymnasium, where you cut away the NASIUM and you retain gym. Influenza, where you cut away the IN in the beginning, ENZA at the end, and you have flu in the middle. And laboratory becomes lab when you clip it, and mathematics becomes math when you clip it. So this is the meaning of clipping of words. Okay. Now we go to the last vocabulary exercise that is there in our textbook for now. That is acronyms. So there are two meanings of acronyms which you could think about. The first one is, it is an abbreviation formed from the initial letters of other words and it is pronounced as a word. Okay, so this could be one where an abbreviation can be called as an acronym, but this abbreviation is said as one single word. The next would be the words which are formed from the first letter of each of the words involved. So whatever words are there, you pick out the first letter and you arrange it and you form a new word. It might sound confusing. Let us look at some examples. See here, UNESCO is an acronym because we say it UNESCO. We don't say UNESCO. What is UNESCO here? United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. So you say it as a word, you say UNESCO. Okay, so this word UNESCO is an acronym. Let's take one more example. See, you say to someone, come here ASAP. Or we say send that paper ASAP. So ASAP means as soon as possible. So even that is an acronym. Okay, children. So now let us look at the exercise which is there in our book. which covers all these 4 vocabulary exercises. So we will look at reduplication first, then blending, then clipping, and then acronym. So let us start with reduplication. So the root stem of a word, that is a root word, is repeated exactly the same or with a slight change. Okay, so the root word, the basic word, is repeated exactly the same. So that will be total reduplication, or with a slight change, that will be partial reduplication. For example, see, tweet, tweet, pitter patter, chit chat, bang bang, riff raff. Out of this, tweet, tweet and bang bang is exactly the same, whereas pitter patter, chit chat, riff raff is a little different. Okay, so this is reduplication. Now when we look at it this way, after we have done the reduplication in detail, you will be able to understand better. Let us come to the next one, that is a blending. So when 2 or more words combine to form a new one, it is called as a blending. For example, we saw all these examples. We saw what is brunch, we saw what is smog, we saw what is motel. Then coming to the next one, that is clipping. We saw what is clipping also, when you reduce a word to one of its syllables or part of it. Okay, when you reduce a word. So mathematics becomes maths, advertisement becomes ad, laboratory becomes lab. So all these examples also we saw in detail. Okay, then we come to the next one, that is acronym, where words are formed from the first letter of each of the words involved. So you have radar, which is radio detection and ranging. You have scuba, you have UNICEF, you have NASA, which is a National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Similarly, you have BBC, CID, USA, ATM, VIP, DOB, KYC, PM. See, all these could be examples of acronyms. All right, children. So now we just have completed part 2 of the video related to the lesson Stephen Hawking, where once again we revised quickly about the life of Stephen Hawking. We did some exercises in grammar and some interesting exercises in word building or vocabulary. So these 2 videos together, we have done the lesson Stephen Hawking, which is lesson number 3.3 in your English textbook.
So children, wasn't that a wonderful video? And did you enjoy watching it? So if you want to watch more such videos in future, then please like this video and also subscribe to our channel, the MCGM Portal for Education, and also hit the bell button so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video here. Thank you so much for now. Let's meet again soon.